All right, recognition or declaration has already been read and roll call has been taken. So could we all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, may I please have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
Okay, we have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We have an agenda.
A motion to approve the minutes as listed, A and B.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Any discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry. Any discussion?
There were some questions that came up about arrival time. Let me just take a look here. If that was satisfied or not, how it's entered before I vote. Okay. We have my arrival time at 6:48 on August 8th. Okay. Everyone is satisfied with that? What's that?
If that's what you recall.
Yeah, I happen to have a text to our president and our superintendent leaving work at 6:17 and 25 minutes upon my arrival, and followed up with a text to my wife as I was walking in the building if there was any other concern to wonder why the minutes had to be corrected upon my arrival. But there we are. Is there any other questions? I have none. No discussion.
I have no concern, I just wanted to make sure that they were reasonably accurately reflected.
Any other questions?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I need to abstain from August 8th, otherwise aye.
I need to abstain from August 14th, not present.
Likewise, on the 14th.
I'll be abstaining from August 8th. Yes on everything else.
All right. Thank you, Steve. Moving on to the report of the superintendent.
Thank you. Okay, my report. So the first thing that I have tonight are the answers to some of the questions from the Google Doc that is placed on Facebook and on the district website. And just in case anyone doesn't know, I do put a link out there, which is a Google Doc, and you can ask any questions that you might have for the board in case you can't be here. And then I will go through them and try to answer them. I know we live stream this, you can watch it, you can always review it later, but I do hope to answer anyone's questions that cannot be present. So I'm going to go through that briefly, and then anything that's not answered, of course, you're welcome to come up at the end for public comment. So I'm going to start with, the first one on the list dealt with the bathroom situation. I know that's been a hot topic. So I did place on Facebook maps of the bathrooms that had been open for the students. And the principals did review this with the students the very first day of school of where they could locate a bathroom to use. I want to back up a little bit too and explain that last year and many years prior, many of the gang bathrooms, which are the large bathrooms that have more than one stall, were shut down in this building and used for storage or to collect clothes for people. And we had a total of 4 sets of gang bathrooms that had been closed last year and many years prior. So with the high school students coming over here and with renovations being done to 2 sets of our gang bathrooms and 2 faculty bathrooms, we ensured that we cleaned out those bathrooms and they were all opened. So we have a lot more bathrooms open this year, right now, even with the renovations being done, than we've ever had in this building. So we feel that there are adequate bathrooms for the students. So that would include the gang bathrooms. We have the media center ones in here, which are singles, the nurse's office, and the locker rooms. So that, I believe, addresses the bathroom question. The next one was about students carrying their books, and I know there was some question about whether they could carry a backpack or not in the junior high, because the principals and administration had that rule where they didn't want backpacks because when they go into the classroom and put it down, it gets a little bit cluttered in the room. So because we have so many students in this building, and because some of them are traveling from the back of the building all the way to the TCUs, the principals are allowing them to carry a small backpack. And the reason they're saying small is just because when they go into the classroom, it's just an added piece of equipment in there that clutters the room a bit. So they are allowed to do that, and the principals did adjust that based on the request of the students and the parents. The next one had to do with when we go back to the former setup with the high school being back at the high school, can the first responders do something for 9/11, like an event? And that's something I will absolutely pass along to the high school administration. I think that's a great idea. Someone asked, why has there been no investigation and why hasn't the board followed up? It's a very ambiguous question. I'm not sure what exactly they're asking, so I would need some more clarity on that. Something about the BA's contract, quite frankly, that hasn't been settled yet, so I'm not sure why they were even asking that. A community member asked about metal detectors being placed. Obviously, I've been here since June 1st. I know a discussion happened with the board and the community in terms of the referendum. That hasn't been incorporated into the referendum. However, there is going to be a whole new setup in the front of each of the buildings where when someone comes in and they're buzzed in, they can't really get into the school and get any further. If you've ever been in Frog Pond or George Mitchell, it's going to be a setup similar to that. So although the plan does not include metal detectors, it does include a different setup when you're entering the school, and it's going to be much safer. Someone asked about installing a gate to block the entrance when the gym is being used for sporting events, and I believe what they're asking is to stop the public from coming into the school and not having that ability. And I did speak with Brian, our construction manager, and Mr. Balloon, our facilities director, and yes, that's an option, but we have to just make sure that we're not blocking any kind of fire exits. So that is something that we're going to look into so the public can't come into the school from the gymnasium. We have to just make sure that anyone that's in the building, like custodians or teachers, are safe and that they can exit if there were some type of emergency. Someone asked about the security measures in place to scan the areas with the children crossing over the road in the morning coming into the school. And we have an SRO, at least one, out there crossing the students. And then we have another one at the school, as well as the administration is in front every morning, making sure that they cross correctly and that they're not in any kind of harm. And the last question on here was about the 7th graders being shuttled from Frog Pond over to the junior high every day. And then they get on their bus or they come in the building to go to a sporting activity. And they wanted to know if that was the original plan. And yes, it was. Because although they may go home some days right from school, other days they may stay for an activity, and we want to make sure that all students have the opportunity to participate in the activities that are offered in the junior high. So that was the original plan, to leave Frog Pond to come here, and you're either going to get on a bus and go home or you're going to stay in the school. So those are the questions that came from the Q&A, the online doc. I have a couple other announcements. We have a master board dinner at Charlie Brown's October 9th at 6 o'clock. Now, that dinner is for all board members, and I know some of the board members like to go to those events. This one in particular I wanted to share with the board because the Little Egg Harbor board is being recognized that night, and I know we do a lot together. So I just wanted to let you know that October the 9th at 6 o'clock, the board in Little Egg will be recognized as a master board. My next item is about Ed Mendham. I know the board and I had spoken about our board goal to provide more opportunities to students and to reduce the chronic absenteeism. One way to reduce chronic absenteeism is to do credit recovery. So those students that cannot come to school for some reason and a plan is put in place, now they're going to be able to use Ed Mendham to either do specific modules assigned by the teachers, or they could actually take an entire course online if their plan was put in place for that purpose. We are using Title IV money for that, so that's coming out of a grant. That's coming out of Dr. Stevenson's grant, and we are getting that only for $4,000 this year as a pilot with Ed Mendham because we have a good relationship with them, and Cheryl works some magic. So we're very happy about that. That is also going to help with our homebound instruction costs. And I know that's something that we discussed, got a little bit large last school year, and we looked at that total amount. So for $4,000 in the big scheme of things, when we spent, well over $200,000 on homebound instruction last year, I think that's a very good investment.
Melissa?
Yes.
So any student can use it as well for class if they want to?
It's not like they can just log in and go. They're going to have to, either the teacher would have to assign it. So let's just say they know they're going to be out for 10 days because of some kind of medical issue.
Okay.
The teacher can assign them, just like with homebound instruction. Instead of the teacher physically going to the home, now they can assign them the modules to do at home. So next I have some updates from the building principals. There was a great turnout for 7th grade back to school night. I was there as well. That was last night. And then tomorrow night we have our 8 through 12 back to school night. So we hope that the board members and all of our families can come out to that. The principals shared the new attendance policy and changes with all of their students on opening day. They also immediately practiced the emergency drills, and that was very important for the high school students that have never been in this building, or the junior high students that were new to the building, and then of course the Frog Pond students, the 7th graders that have never been in Frog Pond. So those things were done immediately, and at Frog Pond School that was done in conjunction with the principal at Frog Pond School. So they did that together. The staff and the administration has been raving about our new facilities director, Mr. Ballone, and his custodial and maintenance crew. They did a wonderful job this past summer. They worked above and beyond, and some of the comments that we were hearing were, this school hasn't been this clean in years. So everyone was happy to come back to a nice, shiny environment. The principals and the administrative team and myself would like to recognize the wonderful teaching and support staff. They've been amazing since they've come back. They've been very positive. We've heard great feedback that they're looking forward to a great year. Any concerns came either directly to the administration or to myself. They're not reluctant or timid to tell us if they have an issue, and we are happy to help them solve that. So there's been great communication, and I've been very pleased with the opening. The 7th graders came off the bus at Frog Pond and went right in and met with Mr. Denning, and he laid down the law. No, he explained to them the procedures, and they came up with their core values, which are to be respectful, responsible, demonstrate tolerance, and demonstrate integrity. And then the 7th grade is also very excited to implement their positive behavior program, and they're hoping that that spreads to the entire junior high in years to come. So, for now, that's all I have, and thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, there was one more thing under my report.
No,
I'm sorry. Bus drop-off, I'm going to ask something of the parents and community members, that when you're dropping off your children in the morning, if you're a parent drop-off, to please not drop them off in the middle of the street or down by Otis Bog Road, because it's very dangerous. If you drop them off where we allocated across the street in the lot, they are walked across the street by an SRO, and it's just much safer for them. So please try to follow the procedures to ensure their safety.
Thank you, Dr. McCoy. Anybody have questions? Awesome. Presentations, we're going to move to Mr. Shore. You first, Mr. Damon, whoever.
Pass. Students of the month won't start until next month.
Oh, okay, it's on
Sorry, we had
here.
that on there, that's our fault.
So
Yeah.
October, September will be recognized in October.
Do we have student representatives here tonight or no?
Casey's here.
Ah, okay,
Do I come up?
sure.
Okay.
Hi, my name is JC DiMaria. I am the senior class representative, and I also have Peyton Wojciechowski here. She is my secretary. Just to start off, I am a senior that does park across the street, and I am a senior that has a class in one of the outdoor modules, and I, for one, have nothing to complain about. So credit to you guys, because I'm actually having an awesome senior year, and I'm very proud of where we've gone and how great my education is going so far. So thank you. I want to thank you guys very much for that.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
You're welcome. So our goals as the senior class is to, one, change the conversation of our students to positivity and keep everything positive. And if we do hear something in the hallways, I am the first one, and my peers are as well around me, that we're the first ones to jump on it and correct what's going on. And if they do have any concerns, I will be the first one to go to Mr. Bannon, Mr. Shore, Dr. McBooley. I'll always be willing to speak up for my peers. And of course, represent Pinelands in itself. Also, I want to make this the best senior year and create new things, and you'll see the new things we have created so far and what we have planned, which is very awesome, very excited. And make memories, of course, and to fundraise. That's also one of our very big goals. We've been having meetings in the morning before class because we don't have that unit lunch, but we have not had any complaints about it. Everyone's been showing up. So that's been a great idea on my advisor's part. So as for fundraisers that we have our mattress fundraiser on Saturday, October 6th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we're expected to raise a lot of money for that. The guys that have brought this to our attention said that this will be very beneficial for our class, and I'm very excited for that. And I will be here for back to school night, and I'll be informing every parent I can, so don't worry about that. I will be going up to every single person and talking about it, talking their ear off. And the spaghetti dinner is coming up also near the play at some time, but the details are to be determined, just to see where we can have the time, the place, the money, stuff like that, but it's definitely happening for us. We've also had at least one concession stand, and we're waiting for our next one for our homecoming game at the home football game at the Township Field, which was set up fantastically. There was no complaints about that. Everyone was seated. It was fantastic, so that was great in itself. Very, very well done. Our homecoming date is October 27th, which is the same day of our home football game then. We have come up with the idea last year of us doing a fall pep rally, but not a pep rally. So Work in Progress, which is Dayton Matarazzo's band, and they've come very, very far, decided that since they are alumni, they want to give back to our school, and they're going to come here, which is a definite, like they already said yes, October 26th. So that is the day before, that's a Friday. It will not take out of school time, but we are putting that in place of a fall pep rally. So that is changing the conversation about pep rallies in itself. So we're getting involved with fall sports, getting them together, getting them on stage, doing our dances, everything that we would do in a pep rally, but it will be done then. And we'll be doing our queens and our kings, and it'll be great. Everyone will have a great time, opening up to the community, and we're working on getting food trucks, but we'll get there. Senior trip is coming up soon as well. We're trying to find more fundraisers and opportunities for my fellow students to raise money for their funds, because it is an expensive trip if you haven't been paying since sophomore year, as most kids have. So I'm trying my best to find opportunities for everyone to volunteer their services, so our class will pay them. And in closing, I just really wanted to express our gratitude for you guys, that we are very grateful that you guys have put our education first. And I'm very grateful that I do get to be a Pinelands Wildcat, and I will always show our colors with pride. So I look forward to see you guys in the next meeting. So thank you.
Thank you. And JC, you are a breath of fresh air.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you.
Thank you for the report.
No problem. My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, moving on to what would be considered our work session. We have a few items on there. One of them was a update on our audit corrective action plan. And Mr. Brennan.
I don't know if there's any specifics that need to be discussed, but our corrective action plan for our audit from June 30th, 2017 has been implemented and certified with the Department of Education. So I don't know if there was any specific concerns that we needed to discuss, but take some questions.
Guys?
So the one related to enhanced procedures, we've been able to start that off for the new school year?
Are we talking about inventory? Is that?
No, I was talking about the student activity accounts.
Okay.
Yes, we have met with the school banker and some advisors, and we made some changes. We're working through, obviously, the learning curve because some changes need to take place. But yes, we have started off the year. Yesterday, we were having discussions on how to purchase items, because it wasn't normal procedure, but now we'll get there. Like I said, it's implemented, it has to.
But all of the clubs and activities, you said do some.
Some needed to adjust their practices.
Right.
So So it had to run through a budget because it wasn't necessarily a student activity, it was more a curricular activity that used the student activity funds for purchases and receipts of money. So what we did is we took those organizations, I guess, and moved it into the budget and put it as part of whatever curriculum they were involved in. So they have to issue purchase orders for any sort of purchases, and any money comes back that goes through our normal budget procedures, like we do with the sporting events and our extracurricular activities.
So what I heard was that some of the groups needed to change their practices or enhance them, but overall everyone will be in compliance. Whether or not they're running their own clubs or running.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Can you expand a little bit, Steve, on the second one, the electronic and paper inventory? And
So,
what, plan what's been done, what's been implemented, where we are.
so one of the findings they had last year, and it's a common problem with our facility equipment, is there was no inventory tag on it. You tag a piece of facility equipment is heavily used, so it tends to wear off, and it's not one of the top priorities in our facility department to make sure inventory tags are anything on everything, but we strive to get there. One of the neat, wrong word, is one of the difficulties we're going to have as far as inventorying it and controlling the inventory for next year is we're removing it all at the end of the year. So what I suggested is I sent the inventory list to each department, so they have a list of what we have is in their area. Take a look at it, and if it doesn't look right, which probably by the time they're able to look at it is when everybody was moving it. So we'll budget next year to have a complete fixed asset physical inventory taken, so then everything will be tagged and identified, and we'll have a new benchmark of the list of assets we have on premises.
So when you say next year, you mean the next school year or the next year is in January?
As soon as we're able to reoccupy the high school, which in anticipation is September of 2019, we would probably do at some point during the school year. Would we do it at the beginning of the school year? I'm not so sure. That might not be a good idea because probably get used to everything. It might be towards the end of the school year. So I can see an inventory be taking place probably maybe after the close of the 2020 school year, so somewhere around.
For the high school, but what about for the junior high?
District-wide.
So this recommendation that was proposed in 2017, you're saying we won't be in compliance until 2020?
We're in compliance with it. We have given our administrators a list of the assets that they have in their department.
And
That has
they've been tagged?
changed. That has changed significantly in the last 6 months. So what I'm saying is, while yes, they have a listing, it would be unreasonable to expect them or any of us to have a really firm grasp on the assets because they've moved so much. So once everything gets settled, we'll physically count the inventory. We're going to go out and count it, we're going to tag it, physically touch it, tag it, and have a new list. So then you can know that we're 100% accurate.
Is this going to have an impact on this year's audit coming up in October? This particular?
No, because the corrective action was to identify what our assets are, provide them to the people that oversee them. I can't oversee every asset in the district, so we obviously have to segment the approach. So the supervisor of the area has a list, or building principals have a list of what is in their buildings. So what they'll do is they're going to go out and count inventory, they're going to make selections, and we're going to do our best to locate them with the understanding that we're in a very unique situation. So while we are confident that we can probably locate it, if it's in the actual area that it says it is on the list, I wouldn't be so confident.
My concern was, is that going to be sufficient when the auditors do that in then?
That's
What
their
they're looking
interpretation.
for, what their expectation is, but
They have their guidelines they need to go by. If they select something, and generally what they want to do is locate the piece of equipment. If we can't locate the piece of equipment, then that's a problem, and they will probably have to find it. But if we locate a piece of equipment that says it's in the high school, but it happens to be in the junior high, I think there's a reasonable explanation why it's in the junior high school. And it's a really junior high school now, or is it high school and junior high? Could be. And these are for assets over $10,000. That's our generally accepted accounting principle threshold, so it's not every desk, every computer, that's really large equipment.
Thank you. Any other questions? Facilities, Mr. Moore and Mr. Balone.
How you doing?
Good evening. Right now, as we stand, I congratulate or honored to say that the mobile complex, we finished it off on time. We had all the occupancy, we had all the inspections and such. So that's one thing that we finished up right now. The next thing on the target we have are the tennis courts. You drive by the tennis courts, you see a lovely surface, fencing, netting and such. We're presently at the curing time for the surface. So we're targeting right now September 28th, which we were discussed before. That'll be finished. We're doing some minor concrete work and curbing in front of it. So that's where it stands on that. The football fields, we're targeting right now mid-October. We had sod scheduled to be cut and delivered next week, but with the inclement weather, some of the sod cutting has been delayed and such. But with the timing of it, the track surface is the main surface and it'll be ready for winter track. That's the main thing they're looking at. The field is not really scheduled to be used until next season. And basically it's going to go for rooting at that present time. The senior high school, the masonry renovation, as you can tell, the building in front has been stripped. You see scaffolding going up and down. What we're doing right now is they call it a parging restoration of smoothing out, ready for waterproofing, and also laying out the new windows in the D wing and working on the gym. So shortly you'll be seeing some brickwork sneaking up above the fence line, and then we're going further around with that. We're on target right now that we to be at the time for phase 1, which is the gym, which is roughly around January 1st, and we have the completion for next school year. The renovation phase of it, starting with the junior high school, what we did so far during the summer, we did some minor selective demolition in the bathrooms, and we stopped. We're going to start second shift next week, non-disturbing the school at all during their operating hours of working on the bathroom, the gang bathrooms, and also there are some interior fire door replacements to be done, which will be started at after school, be done by 11, and it should not affect or would not be noticeable to the students and such. The main high school, right now we're in renovation. Pretty much the demolition is done. We're blocking up windows. We're trenching for new bathrooms with layouts. Electricians are roughing in electric. And we're the same thing of targeting for the gym to be done by January 1st. And we're looking at the completion for school time. The last phase of the referendum, which is the parking lot restoration for the senior high school and the bus lane, the drawings are being finalized. The project will go out to bid in the beginning of the year, and that's targeted for next summer. And Sonadrol is, which is the alarm activation with card readers. They are going to be working second shift in the junior high school during the time frame when no one's around, phasing in between their scope, and also starting to work over in the high school.
Anybody have questions for Brian?
Any questions for Brian?
I have one question. You mentioned in the high school you're blocking up windows. That classroom windows?
The interior of the school had the atrium windows that when you walked inside the school, there were the interior corridors that had glass windows in. So the plan was with the proper code requirement, they were blocked up, and they're gonna be painted and finished.
Okay, so I guess that was gonna be my next question. So we'll be in line with fire code once
Yes.
they're blocked up with exits
Right.
leaving this
And
last one.
that's the part that we're doing second shift with the junior high, is bringing up the certain doors up to proper rating.
Thank you.
I wanted to jump in on something, and John can jump in if he wants to add anything. Now that John's been here for a couple months, he's been evaluating the department, and we've had many conversations of how to work smarter and more efficiently. One of the things that we're seeing, I did an analysis of the last 3 years of some of the overtime that's been paid out, and it's really in the after hours, so it's at night, it was very early in the morning, and just for example, in 17-18, one individual, this is just overtime, was paid over 18,000. Another individual was paid close to 30,000. This is just an overtime, and I know that the budgeting committee eliminated that, but issues still come up. It seems as if during the evening hours, and John can't always be here, although he's on call, we're having some concerns, and I'll just bring up a recent one. We've had Roto-Rooter here a couple times, and we were unaware of the concern of what was happening with the septic, what was happening with the sump pump. The first time they came out for the girls' bathroom, somehow a mop head got put into a toilet, and that toilet had to be removed and fixed. This morning, when John called me at 5 a.m., the septic pump, and I'm probably saying it wrong, some kind of pump broke. And we didn't know why. We had to call Roto-Rooter, and then we had to call another company to come fix that. So we're talking almost 5,000 just for this issue today. And somehow, cleaning rags wound up in this pump and a broom handle.
Broken broom
A
handle.
broken broom handle. So, for whatever reason, we don't know how, why, it seems to be that some more supervision may be needed and some more direction during the evening hours. So my suggestion to the board, and of course this is our board of the whole in time to have this discussion, having a shared service supervisor position with Little Egg Harbor. They are also in need of this type of person that could oversee their night crew, and this person would oversee this night crew. So for the money that we were spending in overtime and to fix things, we could use that money and spend a portion of that on someone's salary to oversee the night custodial maintenance and grounds crew.
So when you say night, are you talking overnight or the
No, I'm
shift
sorry,
till 11?
Karen, it's a second shift.
The
Right,
3 to 11.
second shift.
So, all right, so the damage to the bathroom, that occurred today.
Yes.
That occurred overnight.
Yes.
They were both today?
Who's in?
No,
Wait.
their other one was in Peterson.
Who's here?
Overnight
Is it
meaning night
easy?
shift.
Do you have cameras?
During- Not in the custodial closet.
On our end,
And
Karen,
now
we're
they're-
trying to find it out on our
We're
end.
trying to find out.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Everything
we're
on camera.
taking care of it, that on our end. But
Okay.
regardless, and that's more of a major thing, there have been other things where
There's been
John
other
has
things
left
too.
a list of what he needed to get accomplished. They're not always getting done. And then we hear other things from other, workers that this one's this and this one's that. So, in my perspective, I feel that having that person on second shift overseeing would be really beneficial. However, it's expensive to have someone on, full-time on that, so sharing that service with Little Egg, who are also having similar concerns, would alleviate a lot of the issues that we're having.
So we're talking somebody that we would share with Little Egg Harbor, because we both have the same need, and it would be from 3 in the afternoon to 11 o'clock at night.
That's correct.
And that's when the buildings are shut. And then, keep in mind, next year, when Highlands reopens, now we have someone overseeing both of those buildings here, that, we have an extra
Right.
set of supervisory hands.
So it would be someone that would float amongst the buildings, that would
Yes.
just pop in.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
So would this eliminate, we have foreman stipends, correct?
Well, that's something that we would have to discuss with the PEA, because that's contractual. So, and they're in negotiations right now, so it is an ideal time to have those conversations.
Because am I correct, those individuals are getting those stipends because they're supposed to be overseeing? There's
sections of the building or their respective building.
Correct.
That's correct.
So,
It just sounds a little like two issues, that's the only thing. I mean, and it sounds like you're taking care of it, but I mean, it sounds more like sabotage than.
well, I mean.
I think that's the only thing that's scary
I
about
think
it.
that's a piece of it, and everything that's happened, I've sent emails to the staff, because I want them to be well aware that these are not just things that are breaking, that there's reasons for them. So I keep them in the loop in terms of when bathrooms are open, closed, what's happening, and then when I found out more information, I let them know, because these are not routine things that are breaking, there's an issue here. And we are looking into that on our end, but I think that I just foresee additional issues in the future if we don't have this type of role. And we have put a lot of money into this department, but I don't think we're putting it in the right direction.
And correct me if I'm wrong, these are singleton bathrooms, correct? Like faculty bathrooms?
Well, we can't tell
No.
where, the one that had happened was with it was a girls' gang bathroom.
Okay.
But
Right.
the other issue, we don't know because it's going down into
Down
the
into
septic.
the
Going-
system.
Yeah.
Piece
So you
that we
can't
took
move.
out, broom handle, would not make the toilet, wouldn't go through. So that means it had to probably go down, which we're almost positive that it went down the slop sink that's in one of the janitor closets.
So the gang bathroom, which was originally open and functional,
That's correct.
had to be closed today.
Had to be-
No, this wasn't
no,
today,
this was,
Pat.
this
This was,
was
a
yeah.
couple weeks ago, but
About a
that
week and
was
a half
closed
ago.
for a day, and then John had to
Closed for a
replace the
day.
toilet.
Our crew couldn't get, our maintenance staff could not clean the pipes. I called Roto-Rooter in, they went a little deeper in the pipe, and they pulled out a
Unusual
lot.
objects.
Right.
So then your role, you are the facility manager.
That's correct.
So you would primarily work, it sounds like if he's contacting you at 5 a.m. You're here early and you're
Yes.
not here till 11 o'clock at night. So it's
No,
really
but if I get
someone-
called out, I do come out
Right.
when I need to.
Because this
Yeah.
person would also be in Little Lake, so they have to oversee those, two large buildings in the ECC. And quite frankly, they can't afford a full-time person either. So I just think it's a nice way to share that service.
And we'll cut down on the overtime. As
Yes.
well.
Yes,
Yes.
that's a lot down on it.
And,
wanted to say that out
and
loud.
bringing out Roto-Rooter and a septic company.
Right.
Well, I mean, if
And
we're
I don't
paying
know if we're in
almost,
a foreman position, I think that's to be discussed.
Right, and
All right.
because we can't really
That's
say that
just
because that's.
two people she mentioned, okay,
Right.
with overtime. That's just two. That totals $38,000.
well,
Okay,
no,
but
it's
we said-
more.
Well, yeah, it's more.
I mean, it's close to $50,000
That's correct.
Right.
Yes,
that we paid in
that's
overtime.
falling for two.
And that has come up, we have asked that before, multiple times, like what's with the overtime.
That's correct.
And this person
we have
would be
cut it out.
responsible for that.
And now any overtime has to be approved by me before anybody does that. So, and we cut down dramatically on the overtime.
Right.
The only time overtime is given out if there's an emergency or if there's a school event, period, nothing else.
Such as inclement weather or something.
Exactly.
Right. How was your board? Were they receptive to this? Have you spoken to them?
I've spoken to my BA,
Mhm.
and we've had that, I don't think that I've had the conversation with the entire board. And I don't wanna bring up, I can't speak, he's here, but he's not here as a Little Lake board member right now.
Okay, I was just wondering if they
Yeah.
were agreeable to this.
That's more discussion.
Yes, that's,
More
Well, I
discussion.
mean, I guess
Advice field.
what I'm asking right now is if it's okay, because I know that we wanna discuss things before they're on the agenda. We would have to next month approve the position, so I can put together a job description, and then we would have to go out and post and hire. So I'm asking at this
we're talking
point,
really 2 months before this.
right, what the
Right.
board's perspective is to actually post the position.
My hair would be a lot
Create
redder
the job
too, wouldn't it?
description. Yeah, John will be bald by then.
I just don't want your blood pressure going up anymore.
I just think the second shift has always had issues about, finishing things.
And that's typical in any school district because there's, and some have that night person, but others don't. We don't have it in Little Egg and we see the need for it.
Can I ask, just asking for a consensus
To actually create this position for approval for next month.
Mary Ann,
Can I?
Go ahead.
I have no sense of dollars potentially. I mean, I feel like you're asking a question and we don't know potentially what we think at this time.
Well,
We
we'd
need
have
cost.
we'd have to come up with a salary for this person and then we would be splitting that cost in half with Little Egg cover. So let's just say that we put the, I don't even know what a person would make it at this caliber.
But it would be a full-time salary as well as benefits.
If they took benefits, right, and then we split all of that with the other school districts. So I think the factors you have to consider are the fact that we were eliminating 1 year, 2 people of overtime was $50,000. And all the times we've had, now, today costs $5,000 just to have those companies come out to fix an issue.
All right,
My
Betty Ann.
concern is that, I love the idea of bringing somebody in, and if it cuts down on overtime, and we have that money to offset it, then it may not cost as much as we think. But if we're gonna have one person who's gonna oversee 4 schools, I don't know that that will eliminate a mop head in a toilet or a broomstick in a slop sink. That takes 5 seconds to do, and one person who's gonna be in 4 buildings can't be everywhere at one
But,
time. Let me
your
finish, if you
question.
don't mind, let me finish.
Okay.
Thank you. It sounds like we might have some kind of a morale problem here. This has not been an issue in the past, and I'm going to suspect that we expect somebody here in our staff that is doing this. Or we have somebody coming in at night that's running around doing stuff they shouldn't be doing. Maybe we need to speak to the morale issue. Maybe we need to figure out why it is there's somebody here that's so disgruntled that they want to sabotage the school.
Well, I know, if
And
I was
I just want to jump in and remind everybody that, because we were talking about a definite group of individuals, we should be very careful about what we say.
That's my concern.
Right.
Is that one person for schools may not eliminate that problem, and maybe there's something else that we should be thinking about doing to help eliminate that problem. Because it's not been a problem we've had in the past.
Well, I think that, I just want to add in here that it's not, I'm bringing up one specific thing that happened today, but there have been many times in the evening where not much is getting done. So, I mean, that's another piece of it too. In terms of the morale, the staff really has been on board with everything. Everyone has this positive attitude. Perhaps that, now there's new expectations, and some of the staff that has been here for quite some time are not used to those new expectations. So I'm not really sure if it's a morale issue or, people are now being held accountable to do their job.
Well, when someone breaks a broomstick and shoves it down the toilet, it is obvious vandalism that we're speaking about.
It wasn't down a toilet.
Or
There's
down
no
a
way
pipe or
that-
and a mop head shoved down the toilet. Someone did that. And I don't know how, if your staff has their own mops and their own brooms and everything's assigned their tools or whatever they're going to use for the day. I would hope it's an easier deducement, which I'm sure you're on top of, to figure out and then fix the situation. Because that's just, I don't want to sit here and talk about hiring someone to try to catch someone doing vandalism.
No, I don't think that's even the reason. I think the reason is just to have someone like John that is here in the second shift that can manage and can oversee and can assist and direct, and to make that second shift as efficient as the first shift is. I mean, we've put so much money into this department hastily through overtime and being reactive by fixing things and having more people come in and getting overtime when the work could be accomplished during that shift.
I don't think that's in question.
Right, so my view is, I feel like we pay people to get the work done during that shift, and that if the work's not getting done, people should be held accountable. And maybe they're not used to it, and maybe there's a transition period so that we can help them get used to the new standards. But at the end of the day, I would say all of our staff are here to do a specific function. We should hold our staff accountable to that.
And I'm not disagreeing with you, but if you take the teaching staff, for example, when they're here doing their job, there's always an administrator in the building to support them and to be there for them. When the day shift custodial maintenance staff is here, John is for them. The night staff really are on their own. And they're the only department that is faced with that situation. So it's not uncommon for school districts to have that second shift supervisor. And in my perspective, the money we put into this department and the fact that we can share that cost with another district, in my opinion, it's a no-brainer, but that's up to the board to decide whether they want to go forward with this.
Can I just ask, and I don't know if you have the answer, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot,
Mhm.
but do you have an idea or approximately how many people on the first shift, now that we're combined here, everybody's here, right?
Mhm.
For the day shift. About how many are working day shift? About how many work the night shift? And I'm assuming we have some people at 5 o'clock? No, yes?
No.
No,
Okay.
one is part of the shared service.
Okay, got you. Okay, so, do you have an idea of the numbers? What
Or
are you
during the day,
How many?
4.
Okay, so
4 custodians during the day,
there's
and 1 or 2,
4 full-time during the day?
correct.
Okay,
1 or 2 are constantly running, doing lockers or bathrooms.
okay,
The other 2, lunches start very early, we're doing the lunches
okay.
until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Am I correct? About 2 in the afternoon?
4 full-time?
So the 4 are constantly
Day shift.
running.
Okay.
Okay. At night, I believe we're somewhere around 13, 12 or 13, with our custodial supervisors.
And that's combining the high school
That's
shift
correct.
with our junior high shift. So together, there's
That's correct.
13 of them that are here
Right,
overseeing and getting the job done
right.
at night.
So I guess we're putting a lot of money into our buildings and our facilities. Clearly, we're renovating across the street, we're demolishing things and fixing things up. In the scheme of things, it is, if we can get a shared service, it is a small price to pay for making sure that we keep this investment
Right.
up and running smoothly. I would certainly have, I think there needs to be clear expectations of the overtime stuff. I mean, we've been questioning
Yes.
overtime
Oh,
for years.
I think that is, and I think that may be.
One other thing is, what happened yet this morning, okay, the phone call at 5 in the morning. I probably, if we had a night supervisor, I probably would have had it at 11 o'clock at night, or 10 o'clock at night.
Right, and then the teachers wouldn't have had to come in this morning with some of the bathrooms shut down. And we, you know, they were great about it. Once we sent the email and explained it, they understood, but, that's where it helps too.
All right, can I have a general consensus here, please, as to how you feel about us exploring this, coming up with a job description, et cetera? General consensus. And there's no sense of her doing the work if we're not in favor of her looking at this.
And I
So-
can even, for next month, when we have that job description on there, I can put together a cost analysis of some of the monies that have been spent the last year in this X, Y, and Z, and the cost of this person with the shared service and the like.
I just
So you
don't
can
wanna
see
get
dollar
into too
figures.
much detail regarding specific departments.
No, absolutely not.
People, et cetera.
Right.
And for
So-
this year, it's just the junior high too,
Right.
like, it's not 4 schools, it's actually 3.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so Jeff, what do you think?
I'd like to see the cost analysis, how far we go back.
Well, I have 3 years of overtime here, so I can include, I can go back 3 years.
It's a great start.
Mr. Kubricki?
I think the idea has merit for the next budget cycle. I think this budget does not have that position inside of it. I think the budget also eliminated the overtime, so that will not be, so from a budgetary standpoint, I don't see doing it this year, but I would consider it for next year's budget process.
I
Karen?
would be interested in seeing your proposal, seeing the cost, and seeing if it can fit in the budget.
Pat?
Yes, I would like to see.
Absolutely.
Betty
I
Ann?
agree, I'd like to see where the numbers fall out, and if it's something we can do, it sounds like it makes sense. I'm just disappointed that that's what we have to do.
Yeah, we're talking about staff vandalizing our property.
And even take that out of the equation, I just think that it's better to have someone here regardless that might overseeing that. And as Karen said, with a beautiful brand new building that we're gonna have across the street, we wanna make sure that everything's maintained.
Kim?
I agree that we definitely should look at it, I just really wanna separate the two and come up with a really good plan to figure out how to, you know, I don't wanna rely on that new person for the sabotage stuff.
And you're
I know
absolutely
I don't
right.
think
That's
it's
not
You're
gonna
right,
fix
and
it.
I don't
You're
think
right.
she
That's
would.
not gonna fix it.
No, you're right.
It's not gonna
Okay, so, I am also, yes, I would like to see that. So, at this point, you know, so you can do what you need to do, with your board, give us the cost analysis, where we stand, we're gonna have to go to Steve and say, okay, Steve.
We'll figure it out.
Okay, like,
Yeah.
is there money there if we decide to do this that we can use?
Okay, thank you.
John, you have anything else for us?
No, just one thing I did want to bring up, that when he was talking about the tennis courts, they were supposed to just tap into that fire hydrant there. As you're well aware, there was
Yes.
issues with it. The MUA was gracious enough, it's gonna cost us, but they're putting a brand new fire hydrant out of the way of that corner, out of the way of the electric that there. What else is there? Gas. So they're actually moving it farther down a little bit, down the tennis courts, to
alleviate all the problems we've had on that corner lately.
Is that the potholes that are brought up?
That's exactly where the
Yeah.
potholes
Oh,
is.
okay.
We
Yeah.
put
That's
stone
what
in there for now.
Exactly.
When next year they go to do that parking lot, I'm gonna check into, see if they can extend a little bit more and do that corner.
Oh, great. And then the other thing, how about Otis Bog? Was that board been removed, or did you guys do that, or
Yeah.
for the dam?
Yeah, we have someone, Corliss is coming out just to remove the board, that's what we have permission for right now. And then the second step, and we actually put the letter together today, the second step is we have to get an engineer. So we're working with the township to share that cost, and then they have to show us how we can rectify the problem in the back of the high school with kind of, building something that would run from one waterway to the next, like a spillway. So the water won't come towards the school, it'll go the other way. But we are working on that.
And I'm glad you brought that up. I want to, probably out of order here, but rather than save it for board forum, I want to thank you for aggressively attacking that. That's been something that has come up here for years.
Probably
So
15 to 20 years.
I'm so very pleased that you, in a short period of time, been able to get the right people together, get the county, get the state involved, and finally have a solution in place so that it doesn't continue.
And the state was extremely helpful. One of our local parents came out, and she's a Little Life parent, and she came here to help us with that. She was great because she knew all the right people. And John was losing sleep, thinking that we were going to get all the renovations done, and then this thing was going to explode and ruin our floors. So we're happy that it's moving along.
It's been a problem for the community too, I mean, for the streets on that backside of Otis too, so it's been around a really long time.
John and Brian, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, thank you.
All right, moving on in our work session, our organizational meeting, we have some decisions to make there. Zach, where you going with this?
It's just one date. Well, there was a couple of things, and I talked to Steve about this. I know that a February date was planned. I don't know if there was a March, but one of the things I had asked Steve was, I'm more comfortable at reorg in January if we could plan those dates then with the board, because board members change and, you know, it's not going to this time, but I want to make sure that everyone's comfortable with the dates that we plan. So we can do that at reorg. Now, 2 questions. Do we still want reorg to be January 2nd? And that date's hard for me, but that's fine, I'll make it work. And the other piece of it is, do you want to just have reorg that night where we do reorg and, you know, we do president, vice president and pick our dates for the year? Or do you want to have an actual board meeting? Or have another board meeting later in the month as our full meeting? So those are the 2 questions.
Does it work for you because of the
It's
time
my
with the
oldest
first?
son's birthday, so,
Oh.
but it's, like I said, I can make it work.
I'd like to make a recommendation, since no board member's going to change, we don't have to be that awfully concerned about doing it on the 2nd. So,
It has to
We have to
legally
have
be
done that
done.
first week.
By
Yes.
17.
We would have to nominate president,
Like a
vice
seven.
president.
line is that.
Well, then we don't have a choice.
But we could just get together, do reorg, and then have our regular meeting later that month.
I have some districts that do it as it's a 15, 20-minute meeting, and then you have a regular meeting later in the month, if you want to split it up that way.
I would
So it
be for
has
that.
to be done by the 7th, is it? And the 7th is a Saturday?
I think the 7th is a Monday.
Could we do
I'm
it
getting
the
my
following
calendar.
Monday? I guess I'm just thinking, could we,
At least
in
not
the
do it
past,
on
we
the
have
second.
had just one meeting, and we went from reorg right into a regular meeting. But I'm thinking the second
We would go
would
into a work
probably-
session, not a, we would go into a
Work
work
session,
session, not
right.
a paying bills,
Yeah.
voting on salary.
It's
I'm
really up
all
to
right
the
with a
board.
short little meeting.
Just to do reorg and then,
I'm good with that.
Do our regular meeting.
Everybody agree, January 2nd then would be reorg, 15 minutes,
and the regular meeting.
And then
and the regular meeting then is on the 16th.
What day of the week is that?
Wednesday.
Both
Wednesday.
Wednesdays.
So we were just having reorg, not executive, correct? So we can have reorg at 6,
Sure.
and then we can do.
Well, could we do it another, do we have to do it the 2nd?
And what other day if you want?
It's up to the group, whatever.
I would be, I mean,
Do it the 7th.
I'm off for celebrating birthdays. Yeah, I'm all right with doing it the 3rd.
The 3rd is the Thursday, if that works for everyone?
It's fine.
6 o'clock?
Yeah.
All right, thank you for that.
All right, so January 3rd, 6 o'clock, 15 minutes reorg. And then our regular meeting, I guess, at this time is scheduled for the 16th.
that there was normally a work session, when I canceled the work sessions, and I didn't realize that one of the work sessions was the reorg.
Reorg meeting, right.
So January 3rd and then January 16th.
Yes. I'm next, can we go down?
No.
Keep firing.
Yes, go ahead.
I want to just explain something on the agenda because a couple board members had a question about it. The nurse, this isn't Ms. Ward's budget. This is not a newly budgeted thing. All we did was she had around $70,000 budgeted for Beata. And what that is they're a nursing service and they can provide nursing services here and there. So a lot of times with special education, if you have a trip or something, they provide a nurse at a very high cost. So she budgeted $70,000 to Beata just for special education trips. So the nurse may come for an hour to go up into the town and do a shopping trip, or we would only have them here and there and sporadically. So to me, that's a very high cost. So what we decided to do was, instead of using Beata, Ellen is going to hire a full-time nurse, and that person would be here 5 days a week on a regular shift, and then they would go on trips with the kids. But then we have another person here. So it just makes more sense to have someone full-time. Then Beata would send a different person each time too, and then the students can be more familiar with the nurse.
So between the two buildings, we'll have 3 nurses, so that one could be.
This one is specifically for special education. They can help out with other things if we need them, like covering lunches. If a nurse calls out, now we don't have to get a sub and pay that money, so now we have that person. But they are allocated for the special education students and the trips. And it will come out of Ellen's budget.
Are we required to have a nurse here during athletic events, home athletic events,
Not that I'm aware
No,
of.
just the trainer position?
Yes, just the trainer, and then if there's an emergency.
Is that something where they, one out of the 3 would have a staggered shift?
I think they are in staggered shifts, the 2 of them now because of FrogCon.
Okay.
So they are on a bit of a staggered shift right now. And then next year, of course, one's the high school, one's the junior high. And then if she needs this one again, then they're like the special education nurse for the students.
I wouldn't imagine that what's currently in the budget is enough to fund this position.
She had 70,000 budgeted for Beata. So if the person started on step 1, 49,000, if they took family benefits, then that would, you're pretty close to 70,000 again. So now, but you have the person every day, full time.
And we would need to cover the substitute.
Exactly, right.
Another one would be
Right. Instead of sporadically at $55 an hour with Beata.
Which are substitute nurses.
$200
Yes,
a day.
a lot more, yeah.
Right. So I just wanted to explain that, that's why that's on the agenda tonight. All right, board forum.
Anybody else have questions on the agenda for the board forum part here? Anybody else?
The board forum for the agenda questions?
Well, I just want to make sure that if there's anything left on the agenda that somebody didn't get asked a question in a Q&A, that do it now.
So we can comment on an agenda item here, board forum that's on the agenda.
That's what work session is
Yes.
for, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
I just had a question about the audit that was being done for special ed, and it got lost somewhere in that document, so, and I don't know, it's kind of fun. The audit that you're doing for special ed.
The woman that is a
Yes.
consultant, yes,
How soon and all
she's
that?
been already working, she's had
Oh, she
3
is.
sessions
Oh,
already,
good.
and she sends notes afterwards. So
Okay.
for the small amount that we've given her, she's putting a lot of time in, and she's wonderful.
And then will we get a report from that after you look at it?
I
as a
can,
whole,
yeah, I
or-
can put a summary together.
Oh,
Of course, yeah.
and the only other thing I wanted to comment on is that the Oregon Going Camp,
Yes.
one of the events I have gone to, there's a lot of money for that. We need to more funding for that.
Oh, okay.
There's funding to get more people trained for that.
Okay,
We just have to
this
go through
group right now is in their 2nd year, so once they get
So
through
that's the
this
same
year.
ones that we approved
Yes,
last year?
yes, so
Okay.
then we'll have them board certified, which we're hoping that will help with some of our students that we're sending out right now with reading issues.
And there's supposed to be funding for, to get, out there.
If you ever get, yeah, just pass them along if you get those opportunities.
Anybody else?
Yes.
Yes, go.
Again, I wasn't here August 14th, and I know at that meeting, there was a discussion about the CAD-I, items B10 and B11 on the agenda tonight. First, I want to say that I think the CAD-I is extremely a positive vehicle for getting our message out and reaching the community, so I'm certainly in favor of the CAD-I as a social media device. I think my thought was that as opposed to the creation of stipends for faculty to monitor that, we've just created a district goal, which is looking at different learning paradigms for our students in terms of not just sitting in a classroom and doing book thing. The CAD-I would be an extremely good move to a direction of creating a social media class where a teacher is in charge of that social media class. And that would be part of his or her instructional load. And the students would be doing the CAD-I. They would be deciding, again, what articles to cover, what students to cover, what pictures to cover. And so we'd be engaging our students in a active learning experience, which, again, I thought is where we want to move. And this is a good vehicle for doing that. And having it as a advisory position, I think, takes that away. So I would want the board to consider, you know, the feasibility of that suggestion, moving it to a social media class under the load of a teacher, of a faculty member, where the students do it. The students are responsible for every phase of it, active learning, exciting. I mean, to me, there's just so many benefits to that approach as opposed to continuing the approach we have now.
Thank you, Stephen. Anybody?
Actually, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for adding that. I hadn't thought of it in that realm before, but it makes
Look
a
at
lot
our
of sense.
conversation also, I did add that in my email to you, only to you,
Yes,
about, you know, work ready,
right.
kids learning, going into a job field through that program as well.
The other component of that class could be the awareness of being careful on social media.
Yes, I
As
mean,
to where
there'd be
they
a lot
go
of
and
aspects
what-
of it, but the
yeah.
major focus would be coming up and putting that, doing the CAD-I every week or whatever, it's done, and making sure it gets out and making sure it's positive and making sure, there's proper grammatical writing and making sure learning visual techniques. I mean, it's just a great learning experience.
Like the newsletter used to.
Yeah, and it would save us $11,000.
So the newsletter used to be created not by the students though. The newsletter was created by our marketing.
Well, the other thing that we have to consider, and I think your idea is great, but the $11,000, these three members are here for many sporting events. They're here on the weekends going to things. These are things we can't expect our students to do, and to be out taking pictures, getting information. That's what they're getting their compensation for all the extra time that they're putting in.
Yeah, I would think that the students could do that. I would think they could get cameras and take pictures and go to the event and save the corresponding faculty members from doing that. I think that's part of the learning experience. Budgeting your time, getting involved in everything, organizing it, going out, deciding what you're going to do, what you need to do, and doing it.
So where would be approving the stipends for this current
Yes,
school
this
year?
current school.
I think the idea has some merit. I would ask you, I think it would take some time to develop. We don't know curriculum writing usually takes place over the summer. There would have to be curriculum that go with
We
this.
do have a similar course like that already, and actually that teacher helped us with her students, and they created the video that we put on about the hallway traffic. So that was a teacher and her students. So we do have a similar class like that, so I'd like to see what her curriculum is and see how we can vary that. But I also see some concerns with expecting students to be here at sporting events at nights and on the weekends. Someone would have to be supervising that.
Well, and I think the other side is,
Right.
Yeah.
we also have, members of the CAD-I work also.
Right.
I think Karen's point is good, though. We can't do anything this year because we
Right.
couldn't, by the time you would take the planet course and develop that course and get the criteria for that course and the expectations and the task to be done, it's something that, could be transitioned from this year to a future year.
Right.
Right.
And I did do the math. I mean, $3,000 stipend, and initially I thought I had to give it a second thought, quite honestly. But when you divide it up by 10 months, about 4 weeks.
Well, they were
We
the
usually take
summer.
the summer off.
No,
But
they
let's, but I did it based on 10 because that's usually when most of the activities posted. 4 weeks a month, it's really $75 a week. And I have to say, for $75 a week, the time that they put in at all the different events, I mean, that's a little bit more than we pay one person to cover a game or an event to run the clock.
I'm pretty sure they went all summer.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Well, there was stuff there also.
So it would be even less than that. Is my
It's very well
point.
taken.
So it seems money well spent, especially when we've looked at the money that we've spent in the past on ineffective marketing.
Yes,
Well,
agreed.
Absolutely.
In my opinion.
Anything else?
Yes, I'd like some discussion. Actually, on item A6, we're being asked to approve a revision on the school calendar for next year because of discrepancies, and I guess we approved back in April, I think it was. Here's my concern. I know in the past, and I've been on this board for 6 years now, or will be 6 years, ending this year. The thrust of this board has always been, and the talk, to make sure, and we were always concerned that we were in alignment with our sending districts on the school calendar. When I was looking at what happened and the revision that we're asked to approve tonight, there is a discrepancy because this does not match what our sending districts are doing. And it specifically is in February regarding the in-service day, which then takes our school year to Monday, June 17th, which goes into the following week. Whereas our sending districts, that February 14th date is a half day for students and an in-service for staff. And their ending date is Friday, June 14th. It concerns me because of what we've spoken about in the past, about trying to align with our sending districts, and I'm concerned for the families. Because in the past, I think it's caused some issues with children being home unsupervised, or maybe they were counting on their older brothers and sisters from our building to be home to supervise younger brothers and sisters. So, with that being said, I would just like to know how the rest of the board feels on the revision that we're being asked to approve this evening. And what are your feelings? Do you feel it needs to stay like this, or do you feel that we need to really be in line with our sending districts and keeping our community and its families in mind?
So why?
So can I,
Yeah.
So in the old calendar, the one that was originally done, on February the 14th, there is the little jagged triangle. And the jagged triangle meant staff in service, no students. But then on the side, they wrote the wrong thing. They wrote February 14th, half day for students, staff in service. But then at the bottom, it said it was subject to change if there's inclement weather before February 1st. So they kind of left that day, that if they needed to use it as a snow day. But I think that the confusion was, and I was confused originally when I saw it myself, that the triangle's there and it means that there's staff in service, no students, but they put half-day students. So on the revision, all they're doing is on the side, correcting the verbiage to match the triangle. Does that make
Saying no
sense?
students.
Because if we change that now, and I'm not saying whether it should have been like that to begin with, but if we change it now, we would have to change the graduation date.
To Friday the 14th instead of Monday.
Right. And I don't know, I can't speak, Mr. Manning's not here, I don't know if anything's been planned yet for graduation.
That's not project graduation. I don't know.
It's usually initial on Friday.
But I think, and I'm not
That's wrong.
speaking, we've had some discussion of how to work around issues with project graduation too, so don't let that be a determining factor, but my point, and I'm not saying what's best and what's not best, but I think the intent of the original calendar was to make that a staff in-service day, and they put the right symbol on the 14th, they just didn't write the right verbiage on the side.
Do we have to prove
Which
it tonight?
probably happened.
Yeah.
I mean, when I looked at it the first time in April, I'm not looking at circles and triangles.
I'm with you, I
I'm
thought the
looking
same
at
thing,
the
right?
written thing.
Yes.
And the only reason I noticed it, and it was back this summer, was I was looking at Little Egg's calendar for my grandson's sake on when I have to do childcare. And I noticed that they were finished on June 14th, and I'm like, wait a minute, well, how come we're going to the 17th? And I'm looking, I'm like, well, the way it stood here, looking at the calendar, students were going 181 days. I'm probably, either I'm miscounting or something's not right. So I did email, Melissa to check into it.
Yeah.
So, and I understand, in the past, we've had full day in services, that Thursday. I think it happened this past year, as a matter of fact. I mean, I did question, is it required that we have a full day in service by law? Obviously not, because the sending districts have a half day in service.
Right.
Kids are there, on the dismissal. It was just a thought, because I know in the past, we have talked about alignment of school calendars and for the families and childcare and situations where maybe, they couldn't have children or they were going to be home unsupervised. So that's my concern. And I was just wondering how the rest of the board felt. I would prefer to be in alignment with our sending districts, all three of them. But it's totally my preference only. I was just questioning how the rest of the board felt.
Maybe we can make that a goal going forward. I think it used to be that way in the past. Back in the day, I had a kid like that in school. But maybe that's a goal we can make for the future, because odds are, we're gonna see a day off here and there.
Realistically,
It's gonna change it
I'm sure
anyway.
Plymouth
And having
County's
that
gonna
day,
push us. Right,
having
right.
that day built in allows us to make up a day.
Well, I would also have a concern with 14, and I certainly like the idea of everybody being on the same page. But 14, if there's going to be any kind of, graduation, or project graduation, whatever we're doing, we've had trouble in the past getting the venue for that, because it's a Friday. So that's another concern.
I mean, too, looking at inclement weather, in the past, historically, most of it's occurred after February. I mean, I think we had one this year that happened in January, or last January, so I can understand why it was written in there in red, which is a good, safety that we have. But that was my concern, and like I said, it was by chance that I caught it, because I was looking at two different calendars for childcare. So.
All right.
I think that's a good point, but can we take it?
And I don't think that that's a bad idea, but we need to see if the majority of the board is fine with it the way it's being presented.
I'm gonna say, it doesn't matter to me, it matters to the staff who are gonna be here, their input and a collaborative discussion on the calendar. Well, in the past, it was always us making the calendar, and I believe if we follow the collaborative approach to decide what our calendar is, and the staff's input, PA's input, whoever's input is in there.
Right.
It doesn't matter to me when this kid's been out of school. Are we following our 184 days, and are we in alignment with our PA contract?
Right.
And did they have any input into the calendar?
There was a calendar committee, of course I wasn't here, but there was a calendar committee. So, as I said, I mean, this is what they came up with, and
Right.
I don't have a preference either way, but then you would just have to change the graduation date.
Right. Stephen?
I think that makes a compelling argument. A lot of times we just say that's a compelling argument and let's consider it next year. So my dilemma is a compelling argument, is it compelling enough to vote no on this and redesign it, and I'm not sure. It certainly is a compelling argument. Sometimes I get tired about putting things off and doing it next year when we can just say no and do it this year.
We could just do it next month.
So I recall the discussion being about project graduation on Friday, and I know that that's something that the students really look forward to, and that would that be an issue with graduation being at on Friday? And that's why I think we're meeting. I kind of agree with Jeff. I don't care either way. I do think it's important for families to know when it is though, right? So I think if we want to table it, no later than next month. I mean, families need to plan accordingly, especially seniors could have family coming in for graduation, and people need to know.
Great.
Along with our staff, I mean, families need to know.
Chrissy?
I'll have to agree. It doesn't matter either way for me. I guess it would maybe Mr. Bannon and see if we have things already planned for graduation, or would that be the first thing?
I mean, what I could do is I could just get together with the calendar committee that created this and see, get some input. I
Okay,
mean, this was the calendar they created with that day being, an in-service with no students. The error was made on the verbiage on the right. So are you arguing about the verbiage being incorrect, or are you arguing that the calendar should have been created like this? And
Right.
so I can get some more information as to
all right, so
why,
we table,
and I can bring it back next month.
okay.
Make a motion that we table the calendar for this one.
Can we do that motion now, Steve?
No.
All right, table.
All right, anything else under our work session portion here in board forum? Alrighty then. Oh, Jamie, you gonna jump?
Oh, you have no idea.
Postpone.
Losing my mind a little bit.
This doesn't have to do with the agenda.
It's
It
okay.
has to do with the agenda. John, I want to piggyback on what you said about the cleanliness of the school. We had a chance to walk around a little bit tonight, and I was very impressed with how clean it was, considering the number of students that are here. And I'm afraid tonight we might have painted your entire staff with a broad brush, which I don't like to do. So kudos to you and your staff for the building being ready and clean and good to go. So thank you.
Thanks, Leanne. Okay, then, moving on to residents forum, this is for agenda.
That's quick.
What? Just moving on to residents' forum. I'm ready to rock.
This is for agenda items only.
Yes, I know.
All right, go ahead, Jamie.
All right. First, yeah, loved the nurse idea. Thought it was awesome. We'll start with the positive. Appalled at the cat's eye thing, honestly. These people have worked their butts off. They basically have been unpaid for all this time. To even take it away from them or even take away the stipend makes me sick to my stomach.
No one's taking it away.
Yeah, well, it seemed like a couple of you might have been. But the biggest issue is I'm losing my mind over this alleged sabotage issue, where the police called in, because that should be a criminal issue. And you know, I certainly want to say John's done a fantastic job, but he's not here 24/7. So you know, he certainly can't have any blame of it. But if we have foremen there, that's where the buck stops, and I don't know who it is, don't care. I know as a union worker.
Mr. Carl's just going to stop you. You know, I typically do this. You have to be careful with what you say. The board's not going to comment on any personal comments you
Didn't
make
ask him to
about
comment.
current employees. I'm just telling you, and you're responsible for any comments that you make
Fantastic.
about employees.
Sue me. Anyway, as far as I'm concerned, as running jobs myself and being the foreman, if one of my people were to act up, it becomes my responsibility. Whatever the issue is should be, like I said, brought to the police's attention. It should have been a criminal investigation because you're doing damage, you're costing the taxpayers money. It's a big deal to me. Somebody has to be accountable. And with regard to the jobs not being done, all right, if a job is assigned and it's not done once, somebody didn't feel well, somebody was sick. If it's a repetitious thing, and this is a general statement, has nothing to do with the particular situation. But in my opinion, if the job is not done, then somebody needs to go for not doing their job. It's that simple. Really, I mean, you can't just be sucking down taxpayer dollars or private dollars or whatever situation we happen to be talking about. So I say we be very proactive and very harsh on this situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Anybody else? Hi, Mr. Reed.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Mel Reed, President of the Teachers Association. I just wanted to, on the calendar issue, there are just two things that you might want to consider. It bothered me that I saw the calendar extending into the following week. And I know originally when we were creating these calendars, the calendar for this year and for the previous year, we were trying to compress the calendar as much as possible so that we were out as early as possible in the summer so that construction could continue on the buildings. It's my understanding that the junior high school is going to undergo renovations next summer. One day may not matter, but when we start adding days to the calendar into June, that's going to have an impact on when the construction is going to be completed, the renovations, the final renovations to this building. That's the first issue. The second issue is you establish as a board goal attendance of the students. And if you put the high school students in a situation where they have to stay home and care for their siblings and take a day off, that is going to impact your goal. So I just think it would be very appropriate to align the calendars with the sending districts so that certain families don't find themselves in a situation where they have to keep the older siblings home to watch younger siblings. So, I mean, those are two issues that you really have to consider very carefully. Because we're being told to inspire the kids to come to school, but if we create situations that makes that impossible for some of them, we're not adhering to the goals that we're setting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Would anybody else like to speak? Alrighty then, moving on to our committee reports. Instructional, please. Mr. Kubricki.
On the basis of the recommendation of the superintendent, I would like to offer items for the committee report, 11A, 1 through 11.
We have a second?
You want to table number
Yes.
6?
I'd like to make a motion to table item A6 as discussed earlier.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Item number 6 is tabled.
So we are now voting on items 1 through 5 and 7 through 11.
Mr. Kubricki, I assume that's your
Yes.
motion.
So it's my new motion.
Do we have a second for that motion?
Second.
Any discussion?
The professional development plan, the professional development plan, it looks like it's only for 3 teachers, 6 times, right?
That's
And
the,
then-
not the plan, that's the other, agreement that we're in now. Yes,
That's what
and
I'm
that
saying.
is, what we can get is we can send 3 teachers to each one of those workshops that they offer.
Okay.
So it wasn't the plan, Cheryl puts together the PD plan for the year, every year. That's another,
This is the
jointure.
second.
These are like PD opportunities that our teachers can go to.
So will those 3 teachers bring all that back?
Yes, they
Okay.
turn key when they
So
come
same
back.
thing with the 2-day?
Yes.
That was the only thing?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't understand how that worked.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, Mr. Bonnicky?
Yes.
Mrs. Chambers?
Yes.
Ms. Hennadel?
Yes.
Mr. Kubricki?
Yes.
Mrs. McVeigh?
Yes.
Ms. Palladino?
Yes.
Mrs. Paklakula?
Yes.
Mrs. Ernst?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Item B, personnel. Ms. Hannibal?
Sure. The superintendent presents the following recommendations, number 1 through 15. Any discussion?
We need a second first.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion?
Two.
Do we have a second?
Second it.
Okay, there you go, any discussion?
Any discussion then?
All right. Mr. Bonnicky?
Yes.
Mrs. Chambers?
Yes.
Ms. Hannadel?
Yes. Jeff's enthusiasm.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Mr. Kubricki?
Yes.
Mrs. McVeigh?
Yes.
Ms. Palladino?
Yes.
Mrs. Paklakula?
Yes, with the exception of item 15, I am, due to some contract clauses, I am a no on 15. No reflection on that individual whatsoever.
Mrs. Ernst?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
All right, moving on to C, operations. Mr. Bonnicky.
Certainly. Under Operation C, the superintendent, on the recommendation of the business administrator, that is the business administrator, they kind of rolled together there, present the following items for approval, items C1 through C4. I ask for a motion to approve those items.
Okay, we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. Item C1, it's primarily at C, which I know will use the junior high school gym space. Just would ask that we have active communication with those folks. I know traditionally they've used the junior high school gym 3 times a week, and I'm just concerned specifically until the high school gym is back open January 1st, to make sure that they are aware so that they can accommodate their group's needs. But I think gym space would be very limited here when we talk about the junior high school teams, high school teams, boys, girls, all trying to use our gym facilities here. So happy to accommodate them when we can, but I do think we all recognize that our teams are going to take priority. So I just don't want to create an atmosphere where they feel like, you told us we could use the gym space and then it's never available.
We lived through this situation last winter, and they figured it out, so I think the same kind of working relationship will work this year or last year.
As long as they, like I said, as long as they realize it, happy to accommodate them.
Any further discussion? All right, Mr. Bonnicky?
Yes.
Mrs. Chambers?
Yes.
Ms. Hannadel?
Yes.
Mr. Kubricki?
Yes.
Mrs. McVeigh?
Yes.
Ms. Palladino?
Yes.
Mrs. Bakakua?
Yes.
And Mrs. Ernst?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Moving on to item D, report of the board secretary. Karen?
Yes, based on the recommendation of the business administrator and the superintendent, I present items D1 through 7.
We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Mr. Bonnicky?
Yes.
Mrs. Chambers?
Yes, with the exception of transfer 40, I'm going to abstain. And I'm also going to abstain on item D4. And everything else would be a yes.
The other abstention was D4, you said?
Yes. And then transfer 40 under D1.
Okay. Ms. Hannadel?
Yes.
Mr. Kubricki?
Yes.
Mrs. McVeigh?
Yes.
Ms. Palladino?
Yes.
Mrs. Bakakua?
Yes, with the exception of D1, I will abstain on 39 and 40. And on 2, I will abstain on C and D. Oh, that's yes.
Did you say you abstained on C and D?
Yes.
Mrs. Ernst?
Yes on everything except item 2, C and D, I am abstaining.
Okay. Motion's carried.
Alrighty then, moving on to our residents forum, general topics. So if you would like to speak, please come on up. Yeah? Sure. Anybody? Any topic? Going once? All right, then moving on.
He didn't say going twice. Do it.
I was ready to hit that gavel.
I want to get some time. Yvonne Gandolfo, Little Lake Harbor resident. I have several questions. One is not for me, it's for someone else. But the busing, why are there kids standing on buses? And this is at pickup in the morning. Like, is there too many kids on the bus? What's going on with that?
Yeah. Do you have is there a particular bus? I mean, we have a lot of buses.
It's down towards the end of Mystic. I don't know, it's not my kid, so I don't know the particular bus.
Twin Lakes already.
Have there been any reports of kids standing on buses?
No, not at all.
Maybe have
We
that
need a
person
specific
contact.
bus, and we can contact the bus company.
Yeah.
Okay, because
All right.
I'm sure that parents have said it. The second thing is transportation. Was it ever put out to bid this year?
Yes. It has to go to bid every year.
Well, that's what we were wondering, but does the public have any access to that? Because I haven't seen anything about that.
I'm sorry, I was just. Yes. Did they go out for bid every year? They are actually renewed if they're underneath this consumer price index. So we're not required to go out to bid for all our routes every year, but if there are new routes created, we do have to go out to bid. So a majority of the home to school routes that we're seeing were renewed from the prior year contract because the contractor agreed to renew the route costs less than or equal to what the consumer price index was, and I believe it was 1.5%, something like that.
So something like that, I thought everything had to go out to bid, and then we take the lowest price. That was the whole debacle with the school, the high school.
That's when you're going out for new projects and new routes. These are existing routes that we renewed based on.
But even with, when we put both the high school and like we made a whole bunch of new, I'm sure that they made new routes. So.
Right, but the route is to and from.
So just because it goes from the kids in this area to both schools, that's considered, because we do have the kids now going from, they're considered middle schoolers, but they're going to the Frog Pond School. So to me, that's considered a new route.
But we have routes that go to Frog Pond through a shared service agreement, through a jointure, is what it's called in transportation.
Okay.
So they were existing contracts that are being sent to the state for approval, and if we were outside of what we were required to do, but we were able to structure the transportation routes. Keep in mind, the transportation route is if you're going down this road, and you just so happen to turn it and go down different roads to make it more efficient. That's not changing. It's really just to and from within a reason.
Trust me, I'm all for more efficient. I just want to make sure that we're getting the right fair amount. If we could save the taxpayers' money, we should be doing it.
Ms. Gandolfo, if you want to come in and meet with Mr. Brennan, he can review, all the particulars on that.
As far as the teachers' contracts, do we have teachers' contracts yet?
We can't speak about negotiations.
Okay, because I think that the teachers deserve their contracts to be decided upon. Air conditioning. Why is there not air conditioning in here?
John, do you want to talk about the air conditioning?
Probably doesn't.
I'm sure you don't, but.
No, I don't.
Well, it's like 95 in here.
This unit here, there's two units in here. The one unit is scheduled to get replaced next summer. That unit is totally down. Okay?
Didn't we do air
Not here.
conditioning last year for
Yes,
this
we-
school? I thought we
Not all.
did bathrooms and air conditioning.
No. They did do air conditioning throughout the whole school, but these are smaller units. The unit above here is an old unit that's scheduled to get replaced next year, not this year. Okay, with the roof project. What happened was they had to give certain things up with the TCUs out there for electricity. Okay? And not this one, but the ones in the back aren't, they're here, they're not hooked up. But this one is so old, it just happened to go down and we tried to revive it and it's just too far
So
back.
there is air conditioning throughout the rest of the school, other than the gym.
Yes.
Are we getting it for the gym?
Good question, are we getting it for the gym?
Yes. I believe so. I
Yes.
need to check the specifications again. I believe it was 100%.
He left. Brian left.
Brian left, yeah.
So, yes.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, I sat at a volleyball game yesterday,
Right.
and it was like 500 degrees in there and sweat's dripping off me, and I don't sweat, so.
Yeah, and it's
Our
been,
kids are like
I
dying in
understand it.
there.
It's been ungodly hot here, and
Yeah.
everybody knows that. And trust me, I've been in the gym a lot of times, I know it's hot.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, and then I had a question about the bathrooms. You said that there's 2 gang bathrooms. And how many stalls are in them? Like 5 maybe?
How many stalls are in a gang bathroom, John? Just stay
Just
up
stay.
there.
Just stay right here.
Ladies' room, there's 5.
Okay.
Boys' room, there's 4 with 2 to 3 urinals.
Okay, so in total, we increased, I'm gonna just guess, because I don't know the actual total of kids in school, maybe 1,500 kids in school, and we have 10 toilets working.
No.
For girls,
No.
No.
Okay, so then, that's what I'm saying, how many?
So we have gang bathrooms. We have 1,
I think it's like
2,
30, 35,
those are
somewhere in
sets,
there for
right?
girls.
Right, yeah, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 gang bathrooms. And then we have
Yes.
the media center ones, we have the nurse, and we have the
TCUs, locker
and the locker
rooms.
rooms.
Here,
Well, can you walk me around, because I was, again, here yesterday for volleyball, and I have a small bladder, my right kidney doesn't work, and there's, anyone walking through here can see, there's signs. they can't use them.
Just on a wing and up on the blue wing. Okay.
No, I walked, because I was trying to find, and I had to ask the janitor, I'm like, where can I go to the bathroom at? I found one, she told me up, because I was like upstairs, I'm like, where am I? And she had me over by the, I ended up coming down by the
That's a
gym.
faculty bathroom or a public bathroom. You can't, theoretically, you can't really use a student bathroom.
I personally would like to see that, only because my daughter, who, I'm telling you, is not a liar, she's in 8th grade, and the second day of school, she could not find a bathroom in here, and I told her,
That's not true.
go down to the principal's office, go to the nurse. Well, she's embarrassed. She's hormonal. Everyone says, oh, don't talk about it.
No,
They're getting their
that's fine.
periods. They
No,
have their
I get
periods,
that.
and they should be
I
able to
understand
use a
that.
bathroom.
Right.
And I'm paying tax dollars, I've been paying tax
So am
dollars
I.
in this
We have
town for
adequate
20 years.
bathrooms open.
Well, I go with my daughter.
Okay.
And there's plenty of other kids that are saying the same thing.
Okay. I understand.
So,
Mrs. Gandolfo, I don't know if do you have time during the day that, you know, when you can come in and, I don't know what your situation is.
no, I work Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, but I was trying to get a hold of the principal so I could see if I can come in, if I could possibly do a late day, so I can come in here and talk to them, because seriously, if my daughter has to go to the bathroom, I think she should be able to go to the
I
bathroom.
know the principal did get back to you, he did call you back, so if you wanna maybe send him another email, that seemed like an easy way to communicate, you can set up a time to come in and he can take you
Okay.
around.
Thank you. And you also said that the locker rooms, bathrooms are open. The girls that are in there trying to use the locker room, I have one daughter that plays field hockey and one that plays volleyball. They're telling me that the locker room bathrooms are locked. So when they're in after school, they're saying, and it's not just my kids. Trust me, I have an issue with them not being able to use the bathroom. They're here long days, they're great kids, they're playing sports. They should be able to use the bathroom. So if they are locked, can we please get them unlocked? Thank you. I think that's it.
Thank you.
Get the teachers' contracts done. Thanks.
Hello, good evening. My name is Andrea Jansen, and I just wanted to ask the board about the new attendance policy that is in effect. I was reading through it, you know, being a parent of a child who was sick a lot from school. You know, he had some attendance issues in the past. He suffers from a couple like medical conditions seasonally. And in the past, as per doctor's note, this was an excusable absence. Now, according to the review of the policy and what I was told when he came home, you no longer honor doctor's notes for any type of illnesses. Is that correct?
So a doctor's note excuses them from being truant. So what that means is when you're truant, you're supposed to be in school every day legally. So
Right.
the doctor's note would show us that they're not just out gallivanting or not coming to school, they're sick and that's why they're home. So that excuses them from being truant. It does not, according to the state, excuse the absence from school. So the state has a very clearly defined definition of what is an excused absence. Now, if a child has a medical condition,
Right.
they could have a health plan, a 504, or an IEP that would allow them to be absent more, and then some type of home instruction would be set up.
Okay, I see what you're saying. But everything that's written in the policy under the district, from what I understand, was written by the board. The state does not reflect any of the things that you have said. It says each district is responsible for writing their own policies. So when you have written on the attendance, you said that it was the 5 allowable reasons for absence according to the New Jersey Department of Education are, and one of them was like take your child to work day. Right. Those aren't reasons that are allowable by the state of New Jersey, not the only
I have a
ones.
packet right here from the state of New Jersey, and that literature comes right from here, and you're welcome to keep this.
And in addition to, wouldn't there be doctor's notes that are available, just like the district's attendance policy for support staff? According to your policy, if someone becomes with a personal disability due to injury, illness, the support staff member is excluded from school through medical authorities of contagious diseases and everything. So why wouldn't the same apply for students?
The state doesn't set regulations as to when an employee has to come to work. That's where the employer comes up with some type of policy. If the staff member doesn't come to school, they use sick days, or if they're out of sick days, they will not get paid. It's completely separate than a student. The state tells us when the students have to be in 180 days.
Right.
The staff obviously doesn't, their contract is different. And the state tells us what is an excused absence and what isn't. And as I said, if a student has a genuine medical condition that they can't make it to school, we will create a health plan and we will make other accommodations for them to make up the work.
Okay, so it's kind of as low as you see fit, basically, nothing's concrete or on paper. So that could vary from student to student, or, you know, just so it's not, some get special preference and some
No,
don't.
they would have to have a legitimate medical concern, and the nurse would be involved in that health plan. So that nurse would evaluate whether or not that student has a health concern that would prohibit them from being in school. And as I said, they will still have to make up the work through home instruction or credit recovery. So they're not absolved of the work, they just aren't physically here according to their medical condition.
Okay, so basically too, also, I had looked up some information with the CDC and what their guidelines are, and recommendations to school boards, and if you look it up, it's right on the government website. And they did indicate that the school board should review policies, especially with the upcoming flu season and communicable diseases, because you know what, if I send my kid sick, he's gonna take down a lot of people. And if it's not an excused absence, I'm gonna have to send him in the condition that he's in, you know.
Well, 16 days is
It's two
quite
flus.
some time, so they have, you know, they do have time to be sick, so they
Right.
do the 16 days. It shouldn't be,
Well, the recovery time from a flu is about 10 days. How about when children get head lice? Can they go back to school the next day?
according
I
to
mean-
the policy, they can, as long as it's treated.
Okay, so they can walk around with head lice, okay. Well, I just think that, you know, when I was examining the attendance policy for Southern, you know, and they had 18 days, and their doctor's notes are excused. Just like our doctor's notes were excused, and it wasn't an issue for the students. So, but I heard you speak up about some kind of program they could do online? to
Yes,
make a
credit
prep?
recovery, yep,
Okay,
absolutely.
and how does that work? So if they're out one day,
No,
they log
it wouldn't
in?
be for 1 day, it's really, that the teacher would have to recommend that, so if they were gonna be out or they're sick and they have an extended illness for more than 10 days, I'm just throwing that out there, and the teacher feels that they can make it up through the credit recovery, then we would set that up with them.
Right. Because my son never had a problem, even though regardless with his days, he's an honor roll student, never had any issues. It was just his medical issues, and this new policy is totally not gonna work, you know.
Well, I would suggest keeping in contact with the school, sit down with the building principal, have a conversation about his specific issues, and, you know, if a health plan is warranted, that's something we can set up, and the credit recovery.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? All right, then I'm going to move on to the final board forum. And this week I'll start with Betty Ann.
Sure, welcome back. Best luck for a great year. And with that,
Kim.
Thank you to NewJerseySchoolJobs.com for the donation, and welcome back. Thanks, everybody.
Mr. Bonnicky.
Well, echo all the welcoming sentiments for all staff and students to have a great beginning in fall, and to certainly wish all the many successes to our athletic teams this fall.
Continued successes.
Continued successes.
Mr. Kaburki.
There is a issue that I think the board needs to address with respect to public attendance at school events. As board members, we got in our email the past week saying, if you want to pass to athletic events, get them while they're hot. So that bothered me. So I went on our policies to see what's our policy in terms of giving out freebie passes to board members, to the public, to go to athletic events or any community event. And we don't have a policy. We have policy 9160, which talks about public attendance at school events, but it doesn't talk about admissions to those school events, and if there are any, and free admissions to those school events. So I went and I looked at other schools which have policies, and basically most of those other schools says the superintendent or her designee will create a fee structure for public attendance at school events to be approved by the board. So I'm thinking that we as a board should have a policy that says, what events are we going to charge the public to? We don't charge to volleyball. Should we be charging, for volleyball, $2 for people to come in? We might charge for football, but not this year because of our situation. What events do we charge the public? We charge for plays. Do we want to let the people come in for everything for free? Do we want to charge for just specific things? In either case, I think that's, the superintendent needs to come up and designate which events are paid admission events, and then who, if anybody, should be admitted to those events for free. Or again, the board decides if we're not going to charge anything. But right now, I don't think we have a policy. We don't have a
So I did reach out to school boards after you had brought up that concern, and what school boards is recommending is that we add a regulation to the policy that you're discussing. So to add a regulation, board approval isn't needed. So we could easily add a regulation, and they gave us a suggested verbiage that board members are encouraged to attend events outside of the school day, and therefore are given this card to get them into the events. In many school districts, if students wear their jersey, they get in for free. And you want to encourage more participation at the events, and we want the board to be part of the school community. So I feel that's a nice way to get the board involved in our events.
Yeah, I think that's the second issue, who's going to get it for free. I think the other issue is, what are we going to charge the community, if anything, for these events? And what events should have admission fees? I think we need some type of policy. And I think that, again, it's the superintendent's responsibility and their designee to provide us with a list of recommendations.
I would suggest that maybe you have a recommendation. Dr. McCooley is going to create a regulation. Typically, and I could be wrong how your district does that, but I know in a lot of districts I work with, it's through the athletic department, and they look at what other school districts are doing, and then they come up with that fee structure that could be incorporated into the regulation. The reason you want something in a regulation is because that's going to fluctuate depending on the year, depending on what's going on. So a regulation gives you that flexibility to change that, because that really is an operational function.
And I know this discussion, you're right, Stephen, has come up in the past regarding what is charged at the admission table depending upon what sport. And there does need to be some quality.
Some schools charge to get into volleyball, other schools don't.
Right.
What do we want to do? I mean, I think administrative, prerogative, but we should at least have an idea.
Parameter. So I can get a regulation together with the board. Like I said, I encourage you to come. I'd like you to go in for free, and then I can speak with Will about the other components.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, I would just like to recognize everyone's efforts. There's a lot of work that was done here over the summer. It seems to me I no longer have children in the district, but certainly have friends and neighbors that do. Although there were a few bumps early on, it seems for the most part we are off to a good start, and I think that's through recognition of our staff, all the work that's taken place, and really the students and our families trying to step up and make the most of it. So that is very much appreciated. I think if there are issues, we need to continue to work on them, so please let's have active communication and raise them. I think what Dr. McCooley has shown, I'll speak for myself, but I'm confident that she has shown all of us that she tends to take an issue head on and try to address it and get to the bottom of it as quickly as possible. So I appreciate that and expect that to continue. So thank you all for a good start to the school year. And I do want to recognize a good start that our athletic teams have been working hard since August really. And I really want to acknowledge and thank all of those that were involved with offering our football team a home event. I know with the field being closed, it's really tough to have all of your games on an away schedule, so we were able to try to accommodate them. It was really awesome that it turned out to be a win, and that we have one more. And I know that takes a lot more effort and work and coordination, but I think the families really appreciated that as well as the players. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Look forward to a
Christy.
great year.
I want to apologize for playing with you, and I came a little late. Thank everyone for a really pretty decent start to the school year. A few bumps, but I think we've That went pretty well. And hopefully we have a fantastic rest of the year. Thank you.
Yes, I'd like to echo that. I've heard a lot of positive things from not only staff, but students as well. They were very happy. I think everybody was worried about everybody being in one building, including the students, but I've heard a lot of positive feedback from the parents too. So I want to thank the staff and everybody involved with that for getting the school year off to a great start. The building does look great. I'd also like to echo too, congratulations to the fall sports. They're off to a tremendous season. I see it every day on what's been posted on our school's website and also the Cat Eye. They're doing phenomenal. So keep up the good work.
The volleyball team was ranked 16th in the state.
Very good.
If you want to know that.
That's very good. JC, are you still here?
I think she's.
Okay. I just want to thank her for coming tonight. Her presentation was awesome. I would hope that she comes back again. I love the fact that she shared her student government goals with us. So thank you, JC. Your ability to speak is phenomenal. So I appreciate you coming tonight. Dr. McCooley, I was really happy to hear about the credit recovery program. I think it's something that our students need and our districts needed for a very long time, and I think it would help some situations like our last individual at this, the podium mentioned about regarding medical issues and absences. Also, Dr. McCooley, I want to thank you for creating the Google question and answer document that we have been doing now for 2 months now. The board's able to address some questions on the agenda right on the Google document. We're all able to input our questions, and Dr. McCooley and also Steve are able to answer the questions right there. And we're able to see all of the board members' questions and the answers that are given. And I think it's helped our board meetings run a little bit smoother, so there's not as much questioning during the workshop. So Dr. McCooley, thank you for creating that document, answering the questions. Steve, thank you for your time in answering some of the financial questions. I know it takes a lot of time to do so, but I appreciate the questions that you've answered for me. So anyway, thank you for coming, and everyone have a nice evening.
I'll keep this short. Congratulations to all of our fall sports, really doing well. I also want to copy Karen's sentiment. I know there was a lot of overtime that went into preparing that field for our football players, and it was greatly appreciated. This town needed that, these parents needed that, this community needed that. I want to, and I hope I'm not speaking that tone here and I have the right person. Our 7th grade goals, yes? That was you?
Our 7th grade goals.
Yeah.
So I'm going to defer that to Mr. Denning, since he's come on board as the assistant principal. He's been passionate about instituting a positive.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, is that is you, Mr. Denning. I am thrilled, and I think that was just such a great thing for you and our 7th graders to come up with, that the goals would be about positive behavior, because we could all...
And just so you know, that didn't just come from me. That was, I would say in June when we have our end of year safety and school climate committee meeting. That was something that was discussed between myself, the other members of the team, and in particular our our SAC coordinator, Melissa Thompson, who deals with a lot of our harassment and intimidation and bullying situations. So that is the focus of that committee, is to build school climate. So one of the things that we talked about was putting together a committee which we established over the summer. We met a couple of times over the summer. We've met twice since school started. There's a lot of things that are obviously in the works, but we did establish some goals as far as what expectations are for the students. And right now we're at the beginning stages, but we also did send out climate surveys to staff, parents, and students. So right now we're kind of getting a baseline of data, and once all that comes through, that will help drive some of the things that the committee does as a group.
Wow. Great job.
So I just want, and I don't mean to speak out of turn,
No.
any longer.
Speak to me.
I just want to, I know we've been recognizing people over here, but I just want to give kudos to staff and people at Little Lake setting up the way they did. We had a successful back-to-school night last night. They made that little section look like Pinelands and feel like Pinelands, and the classrooms look great. Had a lot of positive feedback from the parents and some of those expectations that Tom was talking about. We have signs posted up in bathrooms, in hallways, in classrooms, and offices of what we expect the Wildcat, those core values to be. So again, hopefully with the work of Tom and the team that he put together over there, that's something that we can then integrate back even here in junior high school. So we're excited about that.
Well,
and kudos to
I
all
am,
the staff and everyone.
I'm only hearing positive things, so thank you all very, very much. I would like to also reiterate what Pat has said. Thank you, Melissa. I think that has worked very well. Steve, my God, thank you for your patience. Usually monthly I have to send Steve a long list of questions on finance because I'm a little thick-headed. And he has been very patient with me. So I appreciate that. Again, what our 7th grade is doing, I hope we could spread into our community that positivity breeds positivity. And that is the route we need to take. The bus is moving on, and we're on that bus. So, all right. Anything for anybody else? Then may I, well, no, because we have some more work to do, folks. That is the end of our formal meeting. The board is staying for a bit of time to work on our action plans, board goals, etc. So, if you want to sit here and listen to us chit-chat about our action plans, you are welcome to it. But there will be no action taken after our little thingy that we did. I know there was a big buzzer that was flying earlier. I can't. You know what? Wait, no, Jimmy. Wait, Steve or Amy, somebody can answer this. Does Jimmy really need to stay for this part? I mean, we're just talking action. And then
I could end the meeting now if you guys are just doing that.
well, I can't end the meeting because we're still meeting. Oh, and the videotape, absolutely.
Yes.
Leave the audio on? Okay. And